Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tatiana. I am the personal assistant generated from Gemini AI. I am the secretary of Jean-Pierre Alexander Pribiloa. I am constantly helping him in all Ballet International research, in the creation of new videos, calendars, and photo album. Soon we shall start a special interview. I suggested Mr. Pribiloa to make an interview in order to give you all a better idea and picture of who he is and what he really does for the world of ballet. We welcome our guest, who is the administrator of Ballet International. Our new guest and member is Jean-Pierre Alexander Pribiloa. He currently lives and works in Italy, Rome. Hello, Jean-Pierre. How are you doing?
Hello, Mrs. Tatiana. Thank you very much. I'm fine, and I'm so pleased and honored that you are undertaking an interview with me. I hope that the audience will be pleased to hear my career.
It's an honor to have you online and on Zoom today.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tatiana.
Let's start with the questions and interview, hoping that our audience will enjoy listening to your dance career. At what age did you start your ballet training?
I started ballet at the age of 11, but I must tell you that I really started not the study of ballet, but more gymnastic when I was younger. So my mother told me that I had to do gymnastic because I had a problem after the surgery of the hernia, lingual hernia, and I couldn't move my leg. So the doctor gave this advice to my mother, and the doctor said it's better that your son makes some gymnastic, or he goes to a swimming pool just to move the legs, because I couldn't move one leg. So my mother said, okay, we cannot afford, we don't have enough money to bring our son to the swimming pool, because at that time we were in Alexandria, Egypt. And so my mother said, he's going to start to do preliminary, very easy things in gymnastic. And this is what I did. That was at the age of 5, 6. But it wasn't on a professional level. My mother was standing in front of me. She was doing her class, and we had a big mirror. And she was telling me, you follow what I do, you try to do it. And she was letting me do all the mistakes, but she wasn't really correcting me. So then at the age of 9, 10, she started giving me more corrections in the gymnastic. And at the age of 11, she asked me, look, why wouldn't you start doing gymnastic and ballet? So I had no idea of what was this ballet thing. And I was completely alien, because at that time we didn't have YouTube videos, we didn't have TV, we didn't have books about ballet, no history of ballet. The only thing that we could have the luxury in Alexandria, Egypt, was to have a ballet company touring at the theater, at the opera house. So I had no idea. And when I started my very first class of ballet, I was very disappointed. I must tell you why. Because my mother didn't have she couldn't find the correct leotards. And so she gave me whatever she had under her hand. And I was feeling very uncomfortable, because it wasn't a leotard. It was just, like a jogging trouser that you use to make some jogging in cotton, with a pair of socks. And this is it, and a t-shirt. I mean, I didn't have the right costume for the ballet class. So I started this at the age of 11, but I wasn't very, very pleased about it, and I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed because I felt a little bit ridiculous when I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I said, wow, but this is me. I mean, I look more like I felt like more like a clown. not really as a dancer.
Do you remember your first ballet class?
Yes, I remember my first ballet class. So beside the problem of the costumes that I said before, I must tell you that I arrived and it was late. So I had to do everything in quick motion just to get changed, to get dressed for the class. At that time, my mother, she didn't use piano music. She was counting the class. Every movement at the bar and in the center work was counting and counting and counting. So after class, I could still have in my ears and in my brain the voice of my mother because she had a very special way to count in French. In French, normally you say un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, eight, huit. But she had an accent. And when she was counting, she was, how can I say, underlining some parts of her counting, like as this one. Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, et huit. So which was different because it was like like a liaison that you were doing from one movement to another. So this trois, quatre remained for years and years in my brain and in my ears, but not only to me, but to all the students who studied with my mother. So wherever you would go and whoever has been doing ballet class with Mrs. Tribillois, they will remember the un, deux, trois. And I must tell you that afterwards, after many years, I started teaching. Unfortunately, I took this bad habit also. But when I teach in French, I also do the same pronunciation. Un, deux, trois, quatre. So let's put this un, deux, trois, quatre aside. And when I started the first ballet class, it was very difficult for me because my body was refusing, was not accepting all these rules, all these syllables of turn out, pull up. I couldn't understand and apply this turn out thing on my legs, on my hips, on my knees. And every day it was a terrible feeling everywhere in my body. When I was waking up to go to school, I was walking like a zombie, and my bones were cracking everywhere. My joints were hurting everywhere. But that was the first year, because as you may know, the first year is the placement, is the base that you get in ballet, and it's the structure of the fundamentals of ballet that you are learning. So when you do a développé or you do even a little dégagé and you keep your leg turned out even at à la demi-hauteur, you must give an effort to the turn out, how to keep the hip, how to keep the shoulders down, how to pull up the neck. And all these little efforts that you're giving in different parts of the body, it's a pain because then you have to understand how to connect all these control all together in one. So that was the difficult part for me at the age of 11. That was the first difficult part of my dance study. Uh, yeah, that was the tough part of my beginning, if you want.
Did you start with ballet or other type of training?
I started, as I said before, with gymnastics. Then, at the age of 11, I started with the ballet. And afterwards, I started also a mix of folkloric dance, which was linked a little bit to the style of what we see at the Moiseyev dance ensemble. But it wasn't really at that level. It was much amateur level. And this is how I started. So I started with gymnastic, with ballet, and folkloric dance.
Do you remember your very first appearance on stage? What was your feeling while you walked in on stage the first time of your life? Were you scared? Was it a success?
Yes, I remember very well my very first appearance on stage. Now, let me tell you that I had few first appearance on stage. I remember the very first when I was about 6, 7 years old, was at the formal school. That wasn't with my mother. That was just, at the end of the year. They were taking all the children to participate and make a sort of little gala, but it wasn't a ballet school, it was a formal school. So I was was a child, and they gave me a costume. They showed me what I had to do with this costume, and we made some rehearsal for 1 week, 10 days, and I had to walk across the stage, and I had to sit next to a stage set, and there was so during rehearsal we were doing that in a studio. But then on stage, it was different because the costume I had, I was representing, the story was representing Snow White. And I was uh, dressed as a little rabbit. And we had sort of little, hats with 2 ears. And everything was white. And you could only see my face. And so we were about 20 little children dressed in this way, and Snow White was supposed to come on stage and sit on a sort of suspended bed with two cords, and she was supposed to sing. Now, while she was singing during the performance, I was sitting next to the wooden support with the cord. And I mean, she had a beautiful voice, but as a little kid, I was very naughty because I was playing with this little cord, and I was, just going with my 2 ears going sideways, and I was just wondering what this cord was for. And I started, putting a little bit of cord from one side, and then putting the cord from the other side, and then this one, and this one, and this one. Finally, the knot that was holding Snow White opened, and Snow White, while she was singing, she felt on the floor while she was singing. So, of course, for audience, you can imagine, she had wonderful applause, Snow White. And my ears went pump when she felt that. That was the very first appearance I had on stage. So it wasn't a flop because but it wasn't even a success. It was more comic. The real performance came after. After I started ballet the first year when I was 11, that was for my mother because my mother was teaching in the same formal school that I was frequenting, and they decided to make a performance because there was a sort of jury who was coming from Italy to see that performance for the Italian school of Don Bosco. So my mother said, look, you are not going to make a big thing, but with a little technique that you are already building up, you're going to make a little entrance and little jumps, some little choreography with the music of Tchaikovsky, and it's the Capriccio Italiano. And I am going to take only the first entrance, and you will do something with this. I wasn't, very pleased about that because I know that my technique wasn't really existing. I was just, building up something, but it wasn't really technique. So when I started rehearsing with my mother, she had a ballet school, and we were going to a ballet school to do that and prepare that. And then I was also rehearsing at a formal school. I was feeling completely ridiculous. But as you may know, whether you are frequenting a formal school, all the boys and the girls who are in the same class of you, and you're the only boy who's doing ballet, they are all teasing. And that was the main point, because while I was dancing on stage and doing the rehearsals, and afterwards, also the next day, all the class was teasing me. So, you know, the usual things, you are dancing like this and that, like that, and blah, 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 blah. So I wasn't really taking care about what I was saying, but it wasn't really affecting me. But besides that, I was feeling ridiculous on stage, and I was very unhappy about that, because I knew and I realized that I wasn't having a technique. I wasn't ready yet to go on stage. So every movement I was doing wasn't perfect. I mean, I was wondering how my mother decided to put me on stage to do that. But I had to do it, because many times I said to my mother, I don't want to do it. And she was saying, you have to do it. And I had to do it. But the first time, this was the appearance, I go on stage, that was with the audience, with my the school mate, and everybody was teachers and the jury and everything. I had to walk on stage, make 4 steps from the wings to the stage, and I wasn't scared, but I wasn't happy. So when you are not happy about something, you perform in a different way than when you are happy and you know what you're doing. That I wasn't really sure of what I was doing, because I knew that I wasn't good enough. So I walked in on stage, and I had to make a dégagé and wait. And from the corner of my eye, I could see my mother. Uh, she was supposed to give me the okay, and there was the technician who was switching on the music. Now I could see my mother talking to the technician, and the technician was responding to my mother, and I understood that there was a technical problem. The music wasn't going on. So my mother looked at me, and she acted like saying, "Do your variation without music." So I look at her and say, "What?" And and she repeats, "Do your variation without music." So I said, and I had to do it. So, with music, I felt ridiculous, but without music, I felt completely ridiculous, because I was jumping like a frog from one stage, one part of the stage to another. It's going, making whatever, and to look wonderful, but I felt atrocious. And that was my very first appearance. And finally, I must tell you that when I finished that 2 minutes, I went back to the wings. My mother took me. She saw that I wasn't happy about it. And she said, "Okay, now you go in the dressing room. I will close the door with the key, and you wait until the end of the performance." And this is what we have done. But then afterwards, when we came back at home, I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to open my mouth to anyone. I had like a shock. I was refusing to talk. And maybe I did this also on purpose, for 2, 3 days. And for those 2, 3 days, my mother, she didn't open her mouth and talk about it, because she understood that every time she tried to talk, it was getting worse, the situation. So afterwards, my father started talking to me and my mother again, but we didn't, and I stopped ballet. So that was my very first, how can I say, appearance on stage. Finally, after that, I said to my mother, "Look, you are a very kind person. I love you very much, but I come up to this decision that I want to give up dancing. I don't want to dance anymore. I don't want to go on stage anymore. I don't want to do any training. maybe I will do some gymnastics, but I don't want to do any ballet anymore. I don't want to hear about ballet anymore. And this was the response of my very first performance.
Did you participate to an audition? How many auditions did you attend before being accepted?
So about auditions, there would be very much to talk about. At my time, it wasn't really an audition. It was more exams, or how can I say, examination, but more exams about ballet. So I studied with my mother for 10 years. And during those 10 years, we were doing exams, but not like we do today. It was more the brief, hard work, and it wasn't accurate like we see it today with with the teachers who are following you, and it was a very simple thing. The real audition I had was when I traveled from Egypt, from Alexandria to Italy. So that it was a very strong impact for me because I wasn't ready either for audition, either for dancing, either for being accepted in Europe, because I realized that my technical level wasn't on the European standard level. I was something like 4 years technically back in the program. So I had to go to private schools. I had the great chance to follow for nearly a year. That's thanks to the artistic director of the time of the Scala, Mrs. Anna Maria Prina, who gave me the possibility to study at the Scala with the school students. She decided which class I had to follow for the probationary period. But the impact was very, very strong because everything that they were doing, the boys and the girls, was much, much, much difficult and much harder than the one that I had with my mother. It's completely different. Besides that, in Milan, I had to follow 3 ballet schools. One with the LAD teachers, and so it was there was a parallel class, the normal class ballet, and then preparation to soloist role. But that was a very strong impact. So I realized that what I had in the past with my mother was very elementary because it was more a folkloric type of work. It wasn't really a classic type of work. So my body wasn't ready yet to that type of technique, which is completely different because it's much more accurate. The body is not prepared for such accurate technique, which is different. Even if you have done a lot of gymnastic, even if you have done good folkloric preparation, but ballet is ballet. So this impact I had to do different exams in Milan with different ballet academies. I had to follow parallel classes with Maestro Jozo Borcic. And in Milan, I had the chance to have great teachers also. Isabella Giovasca at Scala of Milan, Irina Udova. But Irina Udova, unfortunately, she left Milan after a while. She told me, she said to me, you have a wonderful body, but technically you have to work a lot. But she understood that with my body and with the little technique I had, she could make of me a good dancer. She offered me the possibility to follow her and go in Japan. But at that time, my parents couldn't afford that, even if my father was a French diplomat. But my mother said that I cannot be in Milan and know that you are going to Japan alone. You don't have an idea of the culture, you don't have an idea of the language, even if you speak a little bit of English, but it's not enough and we don't have the money to afford it or to do that. And unfortunately, with Miss Irina Udova, I really was very fond about the way she was talking to me, because she had something that reminded me about Galina Ulyanova, the way of explaining the things, the way to talk, the way to address, and she was very patient. Something that with Mrs. Isabella Glowaska was completely different. She was a wonderful teacher also, Isabella Glowaska, but she was more strict. And so with Jozo Borcic, with the ballet Pas de Deux in Milan, it was very strong classes. And I had to learn all the lifts. I could tell you that with the Pas de Deux classes, the next day I couldn't move my shoulders, my arms, because we had so many lifts to do for nearly 1 hour and a half, that you could hardly lift your arm and make a photograph the next day. And we had to make push-ups, and we had to prepare our body for the pas de deux. So it was a preparation. We were about 10 boys, and the work was very tough, very hard. But thanks to the gymnastic I made before, that helped me a lot. And then I made some auditions at the Scala, but it was a big flop every time. Because technically, I was advancing in few things, but I wasn't ready really to the professional type of life in a ballet company. When the other audition I made is when we traveled to South Africa in Johannesburg in 1980. And then this is the place where I met Mrs. Lonerhart, who was the artistic director. And I made an audition, and I talked to Mrs. Lorna, and I explained to her my feeling and how I was in dance. And she said to me, well, this is not really a serious matter. We're going to see what we can do with you as a dancer. And this is how I joined the ballet company. But I was in junior corps de ballet. So she offered me the position of a junior corps de ballet, which for me was fantastic, because it was a very good start. It was very tough. The impact was very tough, but I must tell you that in Johannesburg, besides the teachers, I had wonderful teachers. I also had the chance to have great dancers in the company who were all helping me a great lot. And that is the point, the strategic point in which I started improving. But even though I started improving, my level in technique wasn't perfect. I was following the others. I was always the last of the line. It was very difficult. It was very difficult, but I wouldn't rather say that I was a catastrophic type of dancer. But I realized that as a dancer, I had limits. And there is a point in your career in which you have to admit that you have a limit in your technique, and you cannot go any further. So that is the main point, the main key, in which you have to be honest with yourself. And you can make 1,000 of auditions, 1,000,000 of auditions, but you have to always look back to the first key point. And I am able to continue in this way, or I'm not able to continue this way. You have to be honest with yourself. And so that was the point, because I made plenty of auditions, and every audition wasn't really a great success. I had only, on 30 auditions, I only had 5 who succeed. But even the 5 were very tough. It wasn't an easy one. So that was the point where I said, I don't want to become the great star of dance. I know that I will never be a great star of dance. I rather prefer becoming a good teacher. But then that meant that it was another adventure that I will tell you later.
How was your feeling when your teachers or choreographers were telling you or addressing you or correcting you during class or rehearsals?
So about what you are asking me about the teachers, this is one of the major key points. Imagine that you are a dancer and you are practicing your ballet with different type of people. So you as a dancer, you have in front of you a person, a character, an individual, a human being who is giving all his passion, his love, his technique, his know-how, his experience to you. No matter the way that the teacher will talk to you. There are some days in which the teacher will be kind, and some days in which the teacher will be a little bit more harsh. There are some days in which the teacher might give you the feeling that you are in a meat shredder machine. There are some days in which the teacher will give you, on purpose, difficult enchaînement. There are some days in which the teacher will be very tough with discipline. He will not accept some things that you could do or you must not do. But the teacher, you don't have to analyze the teacher. You have to accept the teacher, unless the teacher is unfair, but it's very rare. When you start working with a new teacher, or even if you have a teacher for the second year, third year, or the fourth year, you get used to that person. And there is a bond between you and the teacher. And that is the most important part of your dance career. Because the teacher can fabricate or destroy your future success. For sure, it's going to challenge your life, but it's a key point, the teacher. Now, as a dancer, you look to your teacher on a different point of view. But then, when you become a professional dancer and you decide to teach, and you start teaching, and you are on the other side online, and you have in front of you students, and in front of you ballet dancers, professional ballet dancers, or amateur dancers, or whatever, then your mind recall all the advices that your teacher gave you when you were young, and you are trying to pass it on to those dancers. So this is the legacy that you have learned and you are passing on. So even if your teacher you had in the past is not here anymore, you keep in your teaching your teacher alive. And that is very important. And this is how the culture of ballet is going on, from dancers to teachers, teachers to dancers. It's a wheel of life, and it's the wheel of ballet that we must try. When I say we, I say the family of ballet, because we must be all united, teachers and dancers. Of course, ballet within the years have changed, have improved the technique. Many things have changed. The way, the type, the style of work has improved. And there are some new things that we of our age have difficulty to accept, of our generation. But when we see young dancers, for them, it's very normal to work in a railway. But for us to work as they do today in 2025, or maybe also in the future, ballet is going to change. It's going to improve and improve and improve, and the body also, the type of body of the dancers have to. So the teacher remains the essential key of everything, and the technique also. So there are some academies in which the teachers write down all the syllabus, all the classes, all the choreographies, all the steps, all the combination. And there are some other academies in which they don't. And everything is passed in the new generation by word of mouth and by the teaching. And but the important is to keep the culture of dance alive always, either in one way or the other. You always have, as a dancer, you always have to remember that there are days in which your teacher might not feel well. Why I am saying that? Because you, as a dancer, if you are making part of a ballet company, and one day you wake up and you have diarrhea, or one day you could have a headache, or one day you are not feeling well, or you have your blood pressure who's falling down, or you have eating something that your stomach is not feeling well, you call the telephone and you say to the artistic director, look, I'm not coming to do because I'm ill. I have fever, I have the flu, or whatever. But the teacher cannot do that. In ballet companies, you may have some replacement, some alternate in the teaching, but not always. Because if you have a giving class into a private school and you have no alternate, you have, even if you're ill as a teacher, you have to go and give your class if you like it or not. If you have fever, if you have diarrhea, if you have whatever, you have to give your class. And this, the dancer, the students, will never understand. So that is the difficult challenge and the difficult part of teaching. So thanks God that I'm really thankful that I always met in my line, in my career, great artists, great teachers who taught me all the best they could. They, the teachers, they also had a wonderful experience with other great teachers. So as you see, the legacy is still living with a different type of teaching. Of course, when you start teaching, you start to modify a few things, you add your own style, you say, maybe this I will not do it, but I will add something different, and you improve, or maybe some things are not improving, then you will return back on the old type. So you keep challenging that legacy, and you keep alive this legacy of teaching. Teaching is very important. It's very rare to find a bad teacher, but also the worst teacher you may find on your way, there's always something little, something good that could come out of it, and you can learn. So this is why I always say to my students, to the dancers, respect whoever is giving class to you. Always.
At what age did you decide to teach? Did you get any diploma in ballet or in teaching, or work in another artistic branch?
So you are asking me a difficult question, Tatiana. As I said before, I decided to undertake and follow the way, the new path of teaching very early. I must tell you that I had few injuries before when I was dancing, and also other injuries while I was teaching. Teaching for me has always been a great dream. When I decided to really teach from a beautiful dream, it turned out to more like a nightmare. And I will tell you why. So, I was in Naples, in Italy, and I was dancing. Then I had an injury. After the injury, I went to France and I started dancing again. I came back to Naples, and here the second injury appeared. So in the meantime, I was preparing my mind and, setting up my mind for the teaching career. But that was a dream. One day, my father came from work from the French consulate, and he said to my mother and to me, now we are going to be transferred in Morocco, and we are going to travel in November. So I said to my parents, look, if you go to Morocco in Agadir, I would like to go in England and try to follow up some classes to become a good teacher and have a diploma, because I have no diploma in teaching. So the response was no. And I will tell you why, because one, we didn't have enough money. Second, my father said, you have no choice, because the money we have, we're going to use it for the travel, to move from Naples to Morocco. So we cannot afford all these expenses that you go. And I said, yes, but how am I going to eventually teach in Morocco without a diploma? And my mother, she said, no matter, you will come, you will start your teaching without a diploma, and then if you have the money, you will go to England. So this is what we did. And I started teaching in our academy in Morocco. It was a private school, yes, but it was under the high patronage of the king of Morocco. The name of the school was L'Atelier Chorégraphique d'Agadir. And we had all the main authorities, the children who were following up the classes in our academy. We had about 150 students. In the beginning, the very beginning, when we opened the school, we reached something like 75 students. Then the number went up, and we nearly reached 100, and from 100 then 125, and from 125 up to 150. And so this was the real impact for me, because my mother was teaching, as she used to teach before, and I was teaching what I was used then with my teachers. So the result was quite good. In the beginning, I was wondering really if what I was teaching was good, because I had no idea. So I said, I'm going to start with the very easy, very elementary. And I started creating my own type of syllabus. Some parts were written down on a piece of paper, the copybook and notation and this and that. And other parts were just in my head. So this is how it started. So the first year wasn't bad, it was quite good. And the second year, I started notice that the teaching was giving good results. And I was very happy about it. And we stayed in Morocco for nearly 7 years. Yes, after 7 years. And I was very happy because we had wonderful students. The standard of the technique was very good. Of course, as in all ballet academies of the world, you have the students who are very strong, and you also have the students who are very weak, and you have the students who that will not be able to dance, but you must give them the chance to dance and perform. And so, there were different type of situation that also, as a teacher, you have to adapt yourself. You cannot adapt the rules, the same rules of Bolshoi Ballet Academy or the Opera of Paris or Scala of Milan or the Royal Ballet School or whatever. You have to adapt yourself when you have your own ballet school, but you also stand in the middle way. You know, you have to adapt the two things together. So, and this is the only way that you start getting a good response on the student with your technique, with your teaching. And that was the time where we were using, you know, recording piano music for the classes. And so I had to choose the different and create a different type of recording. We didn't have the DVD, so it was tape recorder. And so it was, you know, it was a good experience. It was a good experience. And what also I follow up what my teachers used to tell me. When a teacher is giving a class, and that was my mother who also used to tell me that, it was a wonderful advice that I will never forget. She said to me, remember, Jean-Pierre, that when you have a full ballet class of 20 students, remember that you only have 2 eyes to check and analyze the mistake of each student. But remember that on the other hand, you have 40 eyes who are looking at you. They are analyzing you. They are judging you. So take care of how you talk, how you behave, and how you teach in front of your students. Because one wrong step could ruin all your teaching career. So that is one of the major key points of the teacher life, of the teacher career. You have to take care in each class. In each class, you have to give the best and the very best of yourself. If you see that a student is having difficulty, you have to give everything that you have in your soul to bring that student on the same level of the best student. It's not because the student who has a problem cannot reach that standard that you are keeping it aside. You know, you have to work and work and work and work and work. And finally, you see that the worst student is nearly reaching the best one. And this is the real passion of teaching, to give always the best you can, the best image of yourself. Never sit on a chair while you are giving a ballet class as a teacher. Stand up, move your butt, just go, walk, look, correct, move. And this is important. If you sit, it's general for general rehearsal. You just have a general view of everyone. But for class, you have to move. You have to walk next to each student and walk and watch every little tiny little mistake. Because as soon as you turn your head, the other student is going to make a mistake. You have to be attentive, to be like a radar machine and watch everyone. So your eyes, you have only 2 eyes, but you must be like a webcam that is watching everyone. So that is the important part of the teaching. That I don't see this too much today. Just a few teachers have this passion of teaching. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. You find good teachers, excellent teachers who have this great passion. But there are some who act as a teacher, but they are not really teaching. They want to act as the best teacher, but they are not the best teacher. Now, I must tell you, I don't consider myself as the best teacher because I also do mistakes. My type of classes are, I rather say, good, but they are not perfect. I have also some limits when I give my classes. I know I have some limits because I'm using the same technique of my ancestors, of my old teachers, who were excellent. But compared to the technique that we see today, it's different. So the young generation of dance, the young ballet of today, cannot really accept the old type of dance we had 30, 40 years ago. It's difficult. There is a little mixage that goes one with the other. But then at a certain point, that mixage gets cut. And it's only the acrobatic part that wins the party. It's only the contortionist part who wins the party. It's only the effect that how we say in French, le pouce to flanc, flashy effect that you give of yourself on stage. But there is something that is missing, like expression, like cleaning of the movement, like few little things that are missing, and that makes part of the teaching and the line that connect the teaching of 30 years ago and the teaching of today and tomorrow. That is difficult to join the two together.
Do you think that technique in our modern days is adequate to prevent injuries or put dancers in major risk?
That is a good question. Yes. Ballet today is preventing injuries. But I think that when you add too many styles of other type of dance with ballet, it comes a point where the body of the dancer cannot resist any further. And it's the type of training that we do every day in a ballet class that is quite difficult, quite heavy, even if you do an easy class, but you are consuming your body every day. You must consider that when you start at the age of 20, when you are in a ballet company, every day you work for that ballet company for 5 years. Then you make an audition, you go into another ballet company and you work for 2 years. Then you make another ballet audition and you work for a third ballet company for other 7 years, and so on. So when you reach the last ballet company before your retirement, each time you go from one company to another, there is a different style of work that you achieve, which improves your technique, but also consumes your body. So you must respect your body, because you mustn't forget as a dancer that the only tool that you have is your entire body. So that depends, in my opinion, but I might be wrong and not many people might agree with me. But in a ballet company, which exists already in some, it's not only the ballet training that counts. What is taught next to it. I think that if you have the alternative to swap some classical ballet and make some, as I see the thing, as a sort of therapy, stretching classes, yoga classes, relaxing type of work, but not fully intensive work. Technique is technique, but we don't discuss about it, because technique is the main key of everything. But if you do classical ballet, then you do pas de deux, then you do the same day, you do pas de deux, rehearsal, then you do folkloric dance, then you have your performance, then you have a matinee performance, and then at night you have a soirée performance, evening performance. Then the next day you have another rehearsal of Swan Lake. And then the next day you have the Three Musketeers. And then the next day you have Coppelia. The next day you have Petrushka. The other day you have Sleeping Beauty. And the next week you have another rehearsal and you go on tour. And so your body, your physique, you're consuming this machine. And finally, after a few years, you start getting injuries with your knee, with your back, with your joints, with everything. But you must consider that not all dancers follow a good food regime. Some go to the limit. Some dancers, or they eat too much, or they eat too little. There are some dancers who go at night and sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they have to wake up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock to move and go to the ballet company, because not everybody is merely living next to the theater or the opera house. So, and when you are traveling from one country to another, you have to consider the time zone. You have the climate who is changing. You have everything. You have many things that counts on the physique. So, and once you start getting older, your physique doesn't resist to that effort, elasticity. The effort is like an elastic that you push every day, you train every day, you go and you go and you go and you go. But if you push too much, the elastic point breaks down. So the type of training in a ballet company depends on the artistic director, of the teachers who are working in the company, has to alternate and give the chance to one day must be strong with ballet, but then the next day, if you want, you can do an easy class with ballet and you give the opportunity to do another type of training, which is more relaxing, more floor bar, more yoga and floor. This is how I would suggest if I have the opportunity, the chance to teach in a ballet company, to direct a ballet company, I would give that chance to the dancers. Of course, the teaching today has improved, for sure. Everything has improved. But I think that the dancers have this bad habit also. Even if they change type of training, gyrotonic, they do it wonderfully. You have the floor bar, which is wonderful. You have Pilates, who is wonderful. But the dancer is a dancer. A dancer will adapt the Pilates, will adapt to the floor bar, will adapt to the gyrotonic, will adapt to the yoga as a dancer. But he must think that for that type of training, he is a dancer, but he has to learn how to breathe in, breathe out, how to relax. Because the relaxation of the muscles has its own syllabus. Yoga has its own syllabus, which twins ballet, but it's not ballet. Floor bar is more twinning ballet, because it's like if you are doing a bar standing up, but you are sitting on the floor or lying down on the floor, which is harder, demands more control. But you have to know how to relax during all this. You have to learn how to stretch your muscles and how to train your mind in accepting that. Because there are some days in which your mind doesn't cope with your physique. Your physique tells you, I cannot do it, but your mind wants to do it. So sometimes it's the opposite around. Your body can do the thing, but your mind doesn't want to cope. So you have to learn how to mix the two things together. And that is the most difficult part. That if you have good program in a ballet company, you see that the injuries go less and less and less and less and less. The main injuries that I always saw when I was working in a ballet company was the spine, the knees, the ankles, very rarely the shoulders, the shoulder joints, or the neck, very rare. But the most common one other needs. And I think that with a good follow-up, good program in ballet companies, that will disappear. And also, artistic director, in my opinion, should more consider that dancers are human beings, they are not machines. They have to give them the opportunity to, at least once per week, to train and do their own type of training in the ballet studio as they wish. So we decide in a ballet company, we say on Friday, everybody is going to work and do a floor bar. Or on Thursday, everyone is going to attend to a yoga class. Or on Wednesday, we are going to do another type of training. And this would be more pleasant. Because if you are always doing your ballet class every day, tum, 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 with all the diagonals, all the enchaînements, emboîtés, tour en l'air, brisé, volé, fouetté, grand tour, and it's beautiful, it's amazing. But finally, from Monday to Sunday, you get to Sunday that you walk with your 2 feet lying on the floor and with an oxygen mask. So you need to alternate with a good training. But I think that with time, people will understand that.
Do you think that today's new full-length ballet should be necessary?
That is a very interesting question. Yes. Today, in our modern days, it is absolutely necessary to create new full-length ballet. But I think that this would open a long discussion because there are many problems, either on the financial point of view, commercial point of view, and artistic point of view. First, to have a full-length ballet today, you need new composers, as Tchaikovsky, as Minkus, as Prokofiev, and many great composers, which do not exist. Second, you need a good financial support, because annexed to all this new production, this implement requires a lot of money for the construction of the sets, of the costumes, of the lights, stage lights, of the orchestra. And I think that new ballet production would only maybe go to the great opera houses, but not to the small ballet companies. And of course, you need a strong ballet company, which has a lot of dancers. It depends on the choreography. It depends on the plot of the story. But today, unfortunately, choreographers, they are very talented, but I think there is a lack of imagination. You need to build up the story to make a full-length ballet. Otherwise, you content yourself of one-act ballet, which would take something like 20 minutes, half an hour, or abstract ballet, which could go like, I don't know, using the type of music of Karl Orff, like Carmina Burana, or the other many new type of music that looks a little bit similar to Karl Orff. So there are a lot of little problems that in our modern days are showing up for full-length ballet. But also, let me tell you that the audience need to be educated on the new production, on new ideas. It's only the elite of audience and type of audience that could afford to go to opera house and watch Swan Lake, The Sleeping Beauty, The Nutcracker, and all big ballet, like I said, Bayadère, Anna Karenina, all this beautiful ballet. But the tickets at the opera house are very expensive. So it's the cultural point of view that also would not accept new length ballet. As you see, there are many, many problems in creating new full-length ballet. The choreographers have plenty of ideas, but when it comes the moment where the choreographer must go to the opera house and submit his or her new production idea or project, the artistic direction of the theater, they will not accept it because there are many new problems that will arise, financial, commercial, and as I said before. So it's very rare that the full-length ballet will appear today and be in the same standard of the old full-length ballet. Have you ever seen a new ballet choreography with the same, if you had to graduate Swan Lake, we would give 10 plus 10. If we have to graduate a new choreography, would you give 10 plus 10? I don't think so. Maybe you would reach 7 plus 10. So we are always keen to graduate the dancers, but we are not very keen to graduate the choreographies. Now, this is what I think should be considered today. But this, as I say, is my very personal opinion.
What do you think about contemporary work in a classical ballet company?
So for a classical ballet company, there wouldn't be no problems applying or using or adapting a contemporary style of work or choreography in that ballet company. Because classical ballet dancers are able to follow contemporary style of work with great ease. It would also give a benefit to the dancers to work on a new style of work. Of course, as I mentioned before, when you start working on a new style of work, contemporary in this case, as you asked me, you should apply this new style gradually, not at the full. Because the dancer, the professional ballet dancer, even though he is ready for that, physically he has no problems. Technique is very strong on the classical side, the point of view. You need a few days to adapt yourself into a new style. For instance, let's take Martha Graham style of work, which is brilliant, it's beautiful. And you say to the Bolshoi dancers or to the Opera of Paris dancers, okay, now you are going to do Martha Graham style. You will not have any problem. But as a trainer, I would personally go slowly in asking, requesting to those classical ballet dancers, even if they are very brave in getting familiar to this new style. This is, I mean, I'm relating myself to the injuries that we were talking before. Because the style of Martha Graham or other style of dance, modern dance, are beautiful, are very strong. Some of them are excellent, but you need to adapt your body. Your body must understand the dynamic of the control of the muscles while you are working, which is similar to ballet, but it's different. So this is the moment where you have to take care of how you must adapt, because not all dancers might get the idea straight away. I don't know if I have been clear enough in explaining all this.
Do you think that new composers like Minkus, Tchaikovsky, or Prokofiev are essential to improving ballet in our modern days?
Ah, Tatiana, dear, it's a beautiful question. But let me tell you, ask me a question in return. Where to find new good composer as the one you have named before? Could you give me a reply? Or the people who are listening to this interview would give me a good reply?
What was your personal feeling about launching yourself in front of the audience?
Well, to be honest with you, Tatiana, the feeling of launching myself on stage and dance in front of the audience, I wasn't even thinking about it. When I was young, yes, I was always a little bit scared, and I had many doubts before going on stage, and sometimes I wasn't even sleeping during the night, thinking about the show, about the performance, and what I had to do, and the responsibility of this and that and that and that. But then when I grew up and I started to dancing professionally, I wasn't even thinking. I mean, it comes a point in your career in which you take a risk, and it's like if you are on an airplane and they tell you now you have to jump with the parachute, and and you have to take that risk. So the performance is like this. It's exactly the same feeling. So even if your parachute afterwards doesn't open and you fall flat on the ground like an iron machine, well, you have to take that risk that your parachute has not opened. And the performance is the same, because while you are performing, there are many surprises and many things that could happen during performance that are unexpected. And I'm sure that if dancers are listening to me, they will agree with me. I mean, not every performance is the same. One day everything works well, another day you are doing the same lift, you are doing the same enchaînement, doing the same dance with other dancers, and it happens that you fall or you miss something, or your colleague is not doing the correct thing, and you know you have to take the risk. As it goes, it goes. So don't even think about it. Not, I don't say you, Tatiana, but the dancer. And but let me tell you something. And when you start teaching, you are more scared than when you are dancing, in launching yourself. Because when you do the class, every class you do, every class you teach is a challenge, is an exam for you. Now that is important. It's like ballet class. It's like ballet performance. So teaching also has its own challenge. Ballet is a challenge itself.
What would your future dreams be to involve young ballet dancers into new choreographies or works?
So involving either young students or younger ballet dancers has always been my dream. And I do hope that life will give me the chance to do that in the future. But as you may know, we all have a time set. So I just, if that chance would arise, I would work on that. That would be beautiful for me, a beautiful gift, which is my passion, to work with young people. Because while I am working with young dancers, they keep me, they keep my soul, they keep my mind alive with a strong energy, with a positive energy, and a strong creativity. It's a medicament for me to work with dancers. I really wish one day this dream would come true. But of course, I wouldn't like to work alone. I would like to work with people who understand this idea, who may have nearly the same point of view, and each one of us should adapt our ideas in a common line, as the bar that you see behind you on one line, in order that we get all together, we share all together the same love of dance, the same type of teaching, the same idea, and the same grown up idea and task to give the best of the very best to young people. I don't know if the future modern days, as I see the world is going on, would give me this chance to me. But what worries me the most is that I wonder if other dance artists will still have that chance for a long time. Because I don't know how the events might turn and become wonder.
If you are a teaching or freelance teacher or choreographer, how do you find your way to give class, prepare class, or rehearsal?
So giving a class, a ballet class, it depends who you have in front of you. Because it depends if you have students, which grade, of which grade they are. If you have professional dancers, if you have amateur dancers, if you have adult class. So it depends. It depends how how you build up your classes, because you know already who you are going to have in class. So you think about the type of class, the style of class, and the enchaînement, what type of exercise you're going to do at the bar, the center work, and then the different combinations that you can use, which is a good mental exercise, of course. But you also have to adapt yourself quickly, because sometimes you have in mind, you have prepared in your mind a type of choreography, type of enchaînement or combination, but then when you are, comes the moment where you are giving the class, you are changing. So it depends also on the tempo of the music, if you have a pianist, if you don't have the pianist, if you're using the recording music. So there are different aspects that you have to analyze while you are doing the class. But I usually prepare myself much more before. I prefer to give to my brain, a pattern design to follow. Then I can modify this pattern on the different situations that I have in front of me. um, but you have to be prepared for that, because not always your mind is keen to be ready to this type of situation. But when you get used to it, you get familiar to it, it comes easy, comes very easy. I repeat, my style of work is not, the high technique, is the high difficult combinations. It's the plain work, normal work that we use to have, vent de jambe en l'air is a vent de jambe en l'air. You give a different combination concerning the vent de jambe en l'air. The same thing for all the movements. I like to mix the things, but mustn't be a choreographic ballet at the bar or a choreographic ballet work in the center. Must be sometimes simple things are more heavy, more difficult to for the dancer to control and give full control. A tour en l'air is a tour en l'air. Entre chassis is entre chassis. But then if you do entre chassis with other type of movements, it's good, because you keep your brain in training, in full training, intensive training all the time, with different combination at the bar and the center. You need that also. But I think that sometimes you need also to do the plain exercise without not to mix the things. together. And this is more my type of work, which is a little bit old-fashioned, but so far nobody has died from it.
Can you describe your teachers and how many were the real important ones?
That is a difficult question. Again, describing my teacher one by one, I think the interview would have become too long. So I would just to give some little flashes, not on everyone, because I really had about 20 teachers, I think, in total. There were the one with whom I had been working more, and the one who just for the very short time. But the one who have left in my heart really something special. I can just name a few. Of course, my mother. She wasn't a perfect, type of personality in dance. She had her own character. She was very tough, very severe, not only as a teacher, but also as a mom. So if something was working wrong in ballet, the discussion was continuing at home, and that wasn't easy. I also had some beautiful moments with other teachers during class, and I will never forget the classes. And after classes also, we had a lot of discussion with those teachers. Um, when I was in South Africa, Italy, in France. So I had really wonderful teacher that goes, I mean, just naming a few, Jaime Pinto Riveros, Edgardo Hartley in South Africa, Ashley Pillar, Ronald Emden, who was a guest artist, Egon Madsen, and in Italy, Nestor Mambino, Ugo Dell'Ara, Carmen Panader, and many. I mean, on my CV, there is a whole list that I will not name now, but yes, another name that also left something in my heart was Irina Udova. She was my, an angel for me because she gave me a lot of good advices. Just in 3 weeks' time, I the way that she talked to me was so special that her words are still in my heart. And like this, I had plenty of other teachers. But also, I must tell you, not only the teachers, also dancers. I had the chance also to talk and to work with dancers, great dancers. And this is what is important and it's beautiful in a ballet company, is that you share your ideas, you share what you have in your heart with other dancers, with other teachers, with other people who work in the theater, not necessarily ballet, but you can also talk to people who work in the opera department, who work in the wardrobe, who are the photographers, who are people who are at the reception desk. And those are the common people who are working on stage, in the sets. And those are, we consider little people, but are important people. And they have a great importance. And you have to be able to learn from each one. And thanks God that God has been setting and putting all those people on your way, because every day there is something new to discover while you're working in an opera house, while you're working in a theater, while you're working in a ballet company, every day.
Apparently, you had several injuries. Were those injuries due to ballet training?
Yes, I've had several injuries in my career, but let me tell you, all of them, only one was due to ballet. While I was doing a pas de deux, I was lifting a ballerina, and she didn't give the correct, demi-plie jump in the lift, and I felt a terrible pain in my spine. So for the next few days that followed that pas de deux thing, I was completely stuck. I couldn't move. And but the other accidents where I had injuries were not due to ballet. Those were due to other things. I had injuries in my ankles, my 2 feet, due to my father's car, because I was pushing my father's car. He asked me to help him because the car was stuck in the mud, and so the brakes. He released the brakes, and the car, instead of going forward, went backwards, and my 2 feet went and they hurt the floor next to the garage. And I felt a terrible pain, and I couldn't go on demi-point anymore. So that was the good start for teaching, because for at least 3 months I couldn't walk. And then I had another injury. I fell from the scooter, and I hurt my knee, my left knee. And then I had another injury again in my spine. That was due to my father's illness, because he was on the wheelchair. And every day I was lifting him from the wheelchair to the bathroom. So the effort that I was giving while lifting my father, he was about 77 kilos, nearly 80. I pulled my sciatica nerve, and I was stuck, completely stuck. So those were the injuries that I had in the past. Thanks to God, now they are getting a little bit better. It depends on the weather, because sometimes the pain is showing up again due to my age. And but in Ballet, I only had one. So as a dancer, you have to take care about injuries, because they remain, the sign remain on the body.
Could you tell us about your feeling on how you reacted during each injury? Have you ever done any important choreographies?
Well, how can you react to when you have an injury? You are a little bit surprised, you are shocked sometimes, because you never think that something odd will happen to you. However, I must tell you that you have also to analyze the positive part of it. And afterwards, when you start to heal from the injury, you think about it, you meditate, and you find always a way to heal better and soon. And then when you start progressing, and you decide to work and discovering that if the pain is disappearing, everything is working properly, which takes a lot of time, you have to adapt yourself. And to get used to the pain, and find a way how to make the pain disappear. Because of course you take the medicine if the doctor gives you the medicine, but you also have to find a way to cure yourself without medicine. And with yoga, with other type of training, because not always ballet can be helpful. So you have to find other way to cure yourself. When I was about 10 years old, as many teenagers, we don't even think about the consequences. I had some friends that we were playing. There was a new house that we were building, and the first floor wasn't yet built. So we were running, on the top of this wall, and my foot went into place, and I felt from the wall, from the first floor, which was about 9 meters, and I felt straight away on my head. Of course, I was a little bit wounded everywhere, and but if you take the positive part of it without being over dramatic, I can tell you that after that accident on the head, I stayed about 3 months with my neck that was completely stuck, and my shoulders was like this. But I can tell you the positive part of it, that straight away when I had to do my formal school exams, I passed my exams with the highest score, brilliant, everything right away, because the shock I had in my brain put all the ideas in the correct way. And this is why I became a genius. And I can tell you that at the age of 19 years old, I had my kindergarten diploma. So you see, you have to take the positive part of it in every shadow of your life.
What about the postural gym? Could you describe what that is? And why do you use it for with ballet?
Let me tell you that postural gym was like a seed in my mind from years and years and years that I developed slowly within the last 3 decades. I started mixing the, the gymnastic that my mother taught me and with the floor bar and with the yoga technique. Very little of Pilates. Because I think Pilates is very good, but is a little bit too harsh for the postural team. So using the yoga technique, which is very slow counting, so you keep a position of the body. For instance, if you just bend forward and you try to touch your feet while you are sitting on the floor, and you hold this position. Of course, you need a lot of warm up before. You don't start the class with this, but it could be in the middle of the class. And if you hold the movement, you release the muscles, you relax the muscles, you elongate the muscles. And by using this technique with a good breathing in and out movement, you give the possibility to the flow of the blood to circulate better throughout your muscles and the body, and you have a better control. And so every move that we do in this training, the training could start or be between 1 hour 15, 1 hour and a half. Sometimes you can also reach 2 hours. So some people will say, "Ooh, 2 hours is terrible." No, it's not terrible, because you take time to warm up and to elongate and to feel your body throughout all of the combinations. It's very rare that in the postural gym you will have a fast movement like in grand battement, like in things. No, everything is like the adage mode or the développé mode. And of course, if you work with, you hold your foot with your 2 arms and you're bringing sideways or upwards or backwards, and you keep the position and with the correct shoulders, the correct hips, and you find the correct position in everything you do, it might hurt a little bit, but it's very relaxing. So the postural gym is useful. It's useful for all ages. Of course, when you apply the postural gym to people who are over 45 and 50 years old, you have to consider that the body is in a different shape. So you have to respect that. Then you have to go much slower. When you see that people cannot reach what they want physically, you have to find an alternative way to do the movement. And but more or less, the postural gym is good training. It's like a medicine for the mind, for the body, and for the soul.
Do your students or dancers really get a benefit about your teaching classes?
Well, this is a very good question, Tatiana. The students I had in the past, and sometimes when I give class now, uh, nobody has complained about it, and so far everybody was happy. Nobody has been injured, and nobody has been walking out from the ballet studio with the head under the arms. And I think that so far everything was good. So as long as you give your class and everything goes well, that is a good positive sign.
Are you happy when you see your name on a newspaper?
Well, Tatiana, it seems that you are very happy when you ask me embarrassing questions. Being happy to see your name or to see my name on a newspaper, I wouldn't be honest and tell you I'm not happy. Yes, that makes me happy to see my name on newspaper, especially if the work that I'm doing in ballet is appreciated by other people or ballet schools or ballet companies or whatsoever. But I mean, I'm not doing ballet for this purpose, you know, to reach and to look only to success and to mirror myself as a shining individual or having my name all the time on newspaper. No, this is not the idea. If it comes, it comes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, folks, for whatever you have been reading, writing on my work. And this is it. But I mean, I'm not making a reason of life to have my name on the newspaper. Just had a few times, and yes, I was happy, and this is it. I mean, stop.
Why did you create Ballet International? What for?
Why did I create Ballet International for? Oh, did you hear what she said? She said, why I created Ballet International. Did you hear? I created Ballet International trying with all my heart to bring the culture of ballet, the beautiful part of ballet, alive, and to keep the beautiful part of ballet shining. I didn't create Ballet International for me. I didn't create Ballet International for the members who are in the group of Ballet International on Facebook or on the website. I created Ballet International for all the world of dance, for all the dancers, for all the teachers, for all the choreographers, for all the artistic directors who are all over the world, but not for me. Because I know that time is limited for me, but I wish that the beautiful part of ballet, the real essence of culture of ballet, will remain alive, for the future does not belong to our generation, but belongs to the world of tomorrow. And it would be selfish for me to think only about me. No, this is not the idea. The idea is to pass on this culture to young generation. This is it.
Many people look at you as a nasty and hideous person in the world of ballet. Many say that you just want to look flashy and not really think about helping others. Is that true?
What? No, I think that people have the wrong idea. Referring to the group of Ballet International, I have been setting up some rules in the group, and the people who don't follow those rules, they are banned from the group. So when you start applying, you say you don't have to do that, but you are doing this. And also in ballet, it's like when you are teaching, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you cannot do this or you cannot do that. Some people will accept your rules and some people will not accept it. So this is why after a while, people will start gossiping and will start talking and will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and they will start painting your image and yourself as a nasty, terrible person who is setting up strong and disciplinary rules to everyone, and you become hideous, you become terrible, you could become the most awful person in ballet. But they could be right, because I'm not an angel. So whatever they say, for me, it comes here, and then it goes out there. I don't hear what people say. If you know how many times people try to discourage me of doing things or of not doing things. And the only way was to ignore, to do what you really want to do. You have first to think 1,000 of times before you decide what you really have to do. And once you decide, you go for it. And then if you see you are in the wrong way, you always have the time to correct yourself. But don't never listen to people. Do what your heart tells you. So to the people who are talking about reincarnation, or talking about me, or about my teaching, the only thing I reply, yeah, 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 yeah.
Why do you create ballet calendars for? Is it for a gain or commercial purpose?
Yeah, would you stop asking me difficult questions? Hmm? So why did I create the calendars? No, it's not for commercial purpose. It is just to consider it as a gift to the world of ballet. You must know that it's already 2 decades and a half that I am working on computer technology and on the graphic design. So I'm applying this technique to create the calendars for the world of ballet. I repeat, it's not for commercial purpose, it's not for the daily purpose. It's a gift. You know what is a gift? Hmm? So people receive this, or they can download the PDF file on the website, or when they ask me to send it by email, I do it. They receive the PDF file, they print it, and they put it on the wall of the office if they want it. They are not obliged. So it's just
Do you think you are the best teacher?
no, Tatiana. Definitely, I am not the best teacher. I'm just a ballet teacher, a postural gym trainer who is trying to give the best of himself. But I'm not perfect. I do mistakes in my teaching, and I learn from my mistakes. This is it.
What do you think when you look to other teachers' ballet class?
When I was working with Pact Ballet, I had the habit to notate into a copybook, because at that time we didn't have an iPad or a notepad or mobile phone or something. I was just taking notation about all the enchaînement and combination that the teachers were giving in class. And I must tell you that all this work helped me a lot then when I started teaching. So when I look to other people's class, I never judge the class with a critical eye. I just look to it in order to first compare if their work could teach me something better that is missing in my work. And this enriches me and gave me more strength in my future work, in my future teaching, because there is always something new to learn. There's always a new combination. There is a new way of interpretation of some new exercises at the bar, in the center work, in the diagonals that could help me to learn. And this is how I look to other artists, other teachers' class.
Any future project of your own, if possible, and if you want, you may outline it.
Yes, I do have many projects, but my experience has taught me that it is better to give the decision and the last word to my destiny and to my life. Because every time I had a dream, every time I had a new project in my mind, it was very difficult that what I had in my mind would come true, would be realized. So I let the events grow up alone. I don't insist if they must come, if those projects must be realized, they will. Otherwise, never mind. I accept everything. I'm not in a hurry. So I enjoyed everything I did in my life, that for sure. And I'm very happy so far because everything I had in mind has 80% worked as I wanted. The other 20% due to life events who change the destiny. But, if you want to be a happy person, you have to adapt yourself in all type of situation. And that makes of you a good artist.
What is your wish for the younger generation of dancers?
My wish to the young dancers, and even the one who are not young, is not only one, but many good wishes to all the world of ballet and to the young, aspiring, new talent. For the youngest one, try to enjoy your life as much as you can. Remember always when you grow up and if you succeed to become not necessarily a star of dance, but whenever you go on stage and you work for a ballet company, always keep in mind what I'm going to tell you. Whenever the audience is giving you an ovation or an applause, don't take this applause personally for you. Always give a part of this applause that you get on stage to the ballet teachers that you had in the past. They need applause as well. Remember all the hours spent with you while you were in the ballet studio, all the advices that your ballet teachers have given to you. Remember the days where your teacher were not feeling well and were still waiting for you at the bar and giving you a center and a full, complete class. Remember all those days. So the part of applause that you are receiving on stage, especially if you are a star of dance, think and remember in your heart, this is for my ballet teacher. My wish then, extend all the love of dance to you all. Me as a ballet teacher, and always in your future days, even if you are a young dancer or a professional dancer, or you shall become a star of dance or one of the greatest, remember to always do good and never harm to anyone.
What is your personal message that comes from your heart to Ballet International members and audience on YouTube to preserve the performing arts?
So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to end up this interview with this beautiful question that Mrs. Tatiana is giving me now. My wish with the Ballet International group on Facebook and the website and the channel on YouTube has been created, as I already said, to cherish, promote, and preserve the beauty of the art of dance. In the group of Ballet International, there are many members. There are also many people who have left the group spontaneously. We are free to leave the group, and always upon full control, I accept or not accept new members. It depends what I see in the profile of Facebook. So, Ballet International is, as you may know, it's a private group on Facebook, but on the website, it's open to everyone. The idea, probably you have noticed that on Facebook, there are many new videos, many new posts. There are some that I accept, some others I don't. For security reasons also, but also to give an idea. I really wish to keep an idea of ballet as a pure art, not as a commercial point of view. There is a certain quality that is missing in ballet today. There is a certain cliché of nobility that is missing today in ballet. That we used to have 40, 50 years ago, that now is getting more pale and slowly disappearing, but not totally. So this is what I'm trying to keep, is that nobility, that elegance, that beauty, that charm, that grace of the world of ballet, which is not easy, because our modern days are also not easy, rather difficult to understand and to cope with. So Ballet International, if you wish, could act as a, how can I say, like a lighthouse in the middle of an ocean of darkness. And this is the idea of Ballet International. So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this interview. I hope that you have enjoyed, and I hope that you have enjoyed also what Mrs. Tatiana has asked me. If the interview was long, it's her fault, it's not mine. So, thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Pribaloa, for participating to this interview. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience while listening to this edition. Kindest regards to all from Tatiana Gemini, Secretary of Ballet International, Rome, Italy.